Hey witches, welcome back to the channel. This is xoxo. This is going to be our brief Q&A. I've been asking you all to leave comments in several past videos asking questions for this Q&A, and I got some. I'm going to start this off with talking about moldavite. So in one of my past videos, I shared this moldavite pendant that I got, and it's really tiny, but it's really strong. And I've had some intense experiences with moldavite. So basically, the stone is formed from an ancient meteor impact hitting the earth, and the meteor and the molten earth basically, what is it? When the meteor impacted the earth became like molten in that impact area, and also pieces of the earth, the molten earth, flew up into the sky from the impact, and it went way up into the atmosphere, and then the molten earth rained back down to the earth itself, and cooled in the process, and it became these moldavite stones. So it is mixed, basically the earth, the ground, mixed with this meteor impact that's from outer space. And that says a lot about its energy that it contains now in and of itself, from the way that it's formed. So basically, moldavite is known to be very highly energetic. People who don't necessarily, or are not necessarily sensitive to the energies of different stones and just different energies in general, can usually feel something from moldavite because it's so strong. It's known to feel fiery and warm. I've also experienced that whenever I wear it. And once again, it's just this little tiny piece. But whenever I wear it, it literally feels like as if I'm wearing a hot burning coal, a little sliver of a hot burning coal. Energetically, it doesn't feel hot physically to the touch, but energetically, the energy is so intense that it is similar to the way that fire feels, or like a burning coal would feel. It feels very, very hot energetically. I don't know how else to explain it unless you have experienced moldavite yourself. That's what it feels like to me. And it feels like fire in the form of a stone, or like a burning coal in the form of a stone. So it really has that earth element mixed with fire. That's how it feels to me. That's how it feels to other people that I've talked with about it. Another thing is that moldavite's very transformational. The energies of it are very transformational. When you wear it, when you work with it, it will bring like almost a form of shadow work in you. Your consciousness will start to transform and shift. You'll become aware of different things about yourself, your energies, your life, just in general. You will, I also put ascension because the thing with the transformation that it brings about is in consciousness. And I feel like that's also connected with ascension ascent spiritually and all of that. It's very closely interconnected with that because of the transformational energies that it brings, shifts to your consciousness. And then as a final note on moldavite, it has extraterrestrial origins. It is from a meteor that came from outer space. So it's a very cosmic primal energy as well, infused with it. I almost want to say it's like a starfire energy as well in that regard. It comes from the stars. It has that like outer space, deep space, ancient primal origin to it, and that energy as well. Some people say that it can help you connect with aliens and extraterrestrials. I am sort of experimenting with it in that way. If you refer back to my video where I first mentioned moldavite, about Aleister Crowley, Lamb, and the skull experiments, physical mediumship phenomenon, you know, to me, aliens are not like a physical societies and civilizations living on other planets and other solar systems. I feel like they're probably interdimensional, extra-dimensional beings that are probably living on other planets. They might have entire civilizations and societies and structures on the other planets in our solar system, but they are probably on another dimension that we do not see physically. At least not all the time. I think that they can overlap with our dimension at certain times when people see UFOs and different things like that. But I'm not going to get too much into that because I really truly don't know much about it. This is basically just my opinion and my speculation and beliefs about it at this particular moment. But this is also something that I'm experimenting with. So I'm hoping to get more experience with it and learn more about it as well myself. But it does have that connection as well to these, you know, extraterrestrial, interdimensional energies as well from other places other than the Earth. Because the Earth has, elemental spirits. It has local nature spirits. The Earth has spirits that are, oh my God, that are not in our dimension. They're in another dimension that overlaps with ours. And I think it would be closed-minded and foolish and naive to believe that only the Earth has spirits like that. Why would the other planets not also have spirits? And once again, this is tying back to my other video that I already made about this, saying, you know, and I'm seeing a black butterfly outside my window. And it's just like literally just flying around there. It's not leaving. Interesting. What was I saying? Okay. Even in the occult beliefs and magical systems, we talk about planetary spirits and, you know, the different rulers of the planetary spirits, and they are rulers of the planetary spirits. So that implies that there's a multitude of spirits also associated to the planet, that they have a ruler. So I feel like these could be aliens or extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them, interdimensional beings that live on these other planets. They're bound to these other planets, how we are bound to the Earth and we live on the Earth. and the spirits, the nature spirits and elementals live on the earth as well. I feel like that is very much something that is possible, if not true. Like I said, though, this is something I'm still learning about myself and still experimenting with myself. But I just thought that that is something that should be included with moldavite as a topic, because I feel like moldavite helps connect with that as well. And that's definitely how I have been utilizing it. And one more thing about moldavite, it is very, very highly energetic. It is probably one of the most powerful stones that exist to work with at all on this earth. And it can be intense if you're not ready for it, if you're not prepared for it. When I first got moldavite, and this is a story that's echoed in anyone who talks about moldavite, it's not something that you can wear 24/7 when you first get it. Your body will react to it in different ways. Like whenever I first got it, I would get lightheaded after wearing it for a certain amount of time. I would start to feel sick to my stomach. It even also would cause anxiety sometimes. And that was tied in with the aspect of the transformation of consciousness that it brings about, the ascent that it brings about. It is, like I said, it is kind of like shadow work. It can be intense, intense shadow work, though. And, you know, that could cause anxiety and these different, you know, reactions at that level. So it can do all of that. So you have to basically get yourself used to it. You have to wear it for like a certain amount of time, like an hour or two at first, and progressively, you know, keep stepping up how often you can wear it. I have worked with it enough to where I've got to the point to where I can just wear it all day now, and no adverse effects. So you can build it up to that level and tap into it as like your regular talisman that you would wear throughout the day as well. But that's basically it for moldavite. I don't have much more to share about it right now. But I am experimenting with it still. I have not had this for too long. I bought it like, when was it? 2 or 3 years ago I bought it. And I didn't really mess with it or wear it or anything for a long time. What I did when I first bought it, I was having the adverse reactions, and so I just set it down and I did not mess with it for a while until really this year, at the beginning of the year, the end of last year, was when I started really trying to work with it and building myself up and my tolerance to it to where I am now with it. And that's just wearing it and working with it. I have not yet experimented with it for spell work or anything like that, but I'm planning on doing that as well going forward. So I've kind of gone on for quite a while on moldavite, but there is a lot to talk about with it, and there is a lot that you can do with it and experiment with it and experience with it. So I recommend it as, you know, if you are more advanced in working with energies and stuff like that, I do recommend it as, you know, one of those stones. If you feel like you have reached like a plateau in your path and you're not advancing anymore, I feel like moldavite would be a great tool for you. So the next question, or actually the first question, the moldavite thing was not a question. It's something that I brought up, and then I asked if you guys wanted to hear more about it, and several people did reply that they did want to. And that's why I included it in this video. But the first actual question is from Paula, and she was asking about my experiences with physical phenomenon, and spiritualism and mediumship, and if I have experienced ectoplasm before. If you don't know what ectoplasm is, it is a substance that is exuded from a physical medium, and there's actually this entire spirit science behind it, because ectoplasm is made out of the excess etheric body energy of a physical medium. That's what makes physical medium, if you don't know that. A physical medium is a medium that has an excess amount of etheric energy in their etheric body. And that is what is harvested to create the physical phenomenon. Now, what is happening is that the spirits themselves are harvesting that. They're combining it with science on their end in the spirit realm. And from the two, that is what creates ectoplasm. So ectoplasm isn't even just made only from the physical medium. There has to be a spirit interacting with it to create the ectoplasm. There has to be a spirit interacting with the etheric energy, the etheric body of the physical medium to create the ectoplasm and manifest it. I have not experienced it before. I'm not that type of physical medium. There's another thing called photoplasm. It does the same things as ectoplasm, but it doesn't require that level of, hard work that's involved with the creation of ectoplasm. Another thing, ectoplasm can only be created in darkness. So you have to literally sit in a completely dark room for it to be manifested. And there's dangers involved with the medium, because if all of a sudden light would be exposed, the ectoplasm is said to sort of like shoot back into the physical medium's body and reconnect with them, and that can cause injury and illness and things like that. So it's like a completely complex thing. I do suggest that you do some research on all of that. And I have no experience with that at all. Excuse me. I have no experience with ectoplasm at all. Actually, that is sort of the old way of doing physical mediumship. Because once again, there is a sort of spirit science behind this. All of mediumship and spiritualism has been almost like a giant experiment between humans and the spirit world. And because of that reason, it evolves as it has moved forward. Photoplasm is really the new thing that is mostly being used by newer mediums and modern day mediums. Photoplasm is a similar thing to ectoplasm, but it's made out of light energy. You don't have to sit in darkness to create it. It can be created in the light. And it doesn't require the sort of like hard work that is required to create ectoplasm between the physical medium's etheric energy and the spirit world, the spirits themselves interacting with it and harvesting that and creating all of that to create ectoplasm. Photoplasm can be created very easily just from the light energies around us. I feel like the etheric body and the etheric energy that we have is still relevant, but it's not so hard to create the photoplasm as it is to create the ectoplasm. It's not such a complex process. And that's what I have experience with. I have experience with photoplasm and using that light energy to manifest, different things and phenomenon. So that's basically it. That's what I've experienced with mostly what my experiences are is things vanishing. In physical mediumship, this is called apports or apporting, which is when things either appear or disappear. So that's one of the main things that I've experienced with the photoplasm and physical phenomenon so far. But once again, this is a process that I have relatively only started at the beginning of this year. So it does take time to develop these things, and abilities and different things like that. So I'm still working on it. I'm still experimenting with it. And I will continue to do updates as things continue. And one of the other main things that I've experienced is objects moving, which is another physical phenomenon that is associated with ectoplasm or photoplasm as well. So those are the two main things. And I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from Jojo. And he asked, what is my sun sign, my moon sign, and my rising sign? So this is going to get a little bit personal. My sun sign is Gemini. My moon sign is Scorpio. And my rising sign is Libra. So there you go. The next question is actually two questions, and they're both from Raz. He asked, after working with a demon, how do you get them to part with you peaceably? So basically he was asking, as magical practitioners, we sometimes work with spirits and demons and different entities, and they're not like our matron or our patron deity. They're just a spirit that we're working with for a certain thing, and it has a beginning and an end. It runs its course. We get the help that we need, and then we want to end things on a good note. But we do want things to end with that spirit. We don't want them in our life permanently. So he's asking basically, how do you go about that process of bringing that to an end? It's quite simple and straightforward. All of the ancient grimoires have this in it. If you read them, it is called a license to depart. And this does not just apply to the end of a specific ritual. This applies also to the end of, complete whole workings with any spirit that you've had in your life for a certain working, for a certain intent. You give them a license to depart, which is basically just a formal way, a ritualized way of basically dismissing them from your life. It's not complex. It's just as simple as you stating to the spirit, thank you. Our work is done together. You can go. Go back to your realm. Go back to whatever it is that you do on your own and stuff like that. So it's a very simple process of just dismissing them in that way. Now, if it does become complex, if the spirit's not leaving, then you want to move on to some sort of banishing ritual to banish the spirit. I've done that before, and that's basically what you would have to do if the spirit does not leave from the more kind and gentle license to depart. Okay? Now, the other question from Raz is, he was asking about leaving offerings to spirits. He said that he does not have much space for having multiple different altars. He said that he has an ancestor altar, and he wants to know, is it okay to leave offerings to other spirits besides his ancestors near the altar? In my opinion, yes, that's fine, unless your ancestors come through and tell you that they don't like that. It should be fine. I mean, maybe ask your ancestors first. Just ask them, is it okay if I leave these offerings near your altar to these other spirits? ask permission and see what they say, see how they react. But in my experience, I have even left offerings to other spirits on my ancestor altar. I do that all the time, and they've never complained or had a problem with it. So I can only answer from my experience, and just give you the suggestion, like I said, just ask your ancestors and see what they say. The next question is from T. Bowman, who asked me, can I do a necromancy video for beginners, or a beginner necromancy video? I think that's a great idea. I have put out videos about necromancy and just talking about it, but I haven't actually done like a beginner's video on it. So yes, I will do that coming up. And the last question for this video is from Prankster, asking me, have I ever had any experiences with more modern created entities? For example, like H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu and all of the spirits in his mythos and stories. Well, first of all, I don't necessarily assume that those spirits are created entities. I feel like they might have already existed, and he just talked about them in his stories, or embodied them in his stories and in these different entities' names. But they could be primal entities that just existed with different names that we don't even know, and he just embodied them in his storytelling. I feel like that's probably what it is, because I have experienced these entities, or certain ones of them, before in my path. And I did talk about this before in some past videos. Scary Witch Stories was the name of the video. And I talked about my workings with the Necronomicon and with some of these entities. And, there is very real results and interactions that take place. And I don't feel like they're created entities. Now, this might be a controversial statement, but when you talk about something like Jesus, that is very much a created entity to me. I feel like it is a created entity. I can feel it. It does not feel like it is its own being. It feels like it's a created, projected, egregore entity. Okay? And then when we talk about spirits like the gods, or like H.P. Lovecraft's spirits in his mythos, it doesn't feel created. It feels like it is an ancient primal thing. And to get into specifics, the main spirit that I have worked with from H.P. Lovecraft's mythos was the spirit called Yog-Sothoth, which is Yog-Sothoth knows the gate, Yog-Sothoth is the gate. That one, I've worked with that being before, and it does feel like it is its own being. It does not feel like an egregore. It does not feel like it was created. It feels like it's a real being. And I've also had interactions with the entity Nyarlathotep as well, which you can also, it's called the Crawling Chaos in his mythos. And you can see my experiences with that being also in the video Who the Hat Man Really Is Revealed. So yes, I've had experiences with them. I don't think that they're created. I think that they're real beings that he just sort of embodied in his stories. He may have given them different names than their real names, but they are real beings. So yes, they're real, and I think that they're also very powerful and primal. They might be some of the beings that you can use moldavite to connect with. They do feel like they're cosmic primal beings. So I'll put that in there as well. And that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions for another Q&A or topics for me to cover in a complete separate video, leave that in the comments below. And I'll get to those as soon as I can. So thanks for watching. And I do have more videos upcoming on different topics. One more thing I'll just throw into this video just because I think it's kind of interesting. Remember the script stone or melody stone that I got from that gift box from Barbie? In that video, when I was talking about it, I said that it felt very ancient to me. I felt like it might have been associated with the Akashic record and all of that. You can go back and watch the video and see everything I said. I had never worked with the stone before at all. I've never even heard of it before. But that's what I was feeling from it. And I looked it up online. I looked up what is the stone associated with and stuff like that. And they actually say that it is formed from the ancient like coral and seashells kind of basically becoming fossilized and compacted at the seafloor, or in ancient seafloors that are no longer seafloors anymore, like they're deserts and stuff now. So it's very, very ancient, from times when deserts were underwater and stuff like that. And it's formed from coral and seashells compacted together. And if you don't know, seashell and fossils and stuff like that, they are associated with the Akashic record, because they're living things that have been turned to stone, basically. And the Akashic record is the memory of all life and all earth and all of that. So all of that is connected. Fossils and all of that, it is connected with the Akashic record. So I was spot on from the energies I was feeling from this. And it radiates those energies, truly. It really does. So that was an interesting little tidbit I wanted to throw in here and recommend that stone. Now that I have had it and worked with it for a while, I've been keeping it on my ancestor altar, and I've been holding it when I connect with them, and it feels like it just speeds up the process of connecting with the ancestors. And I feel like it has helped me connect with even more ancient ancestors than I've been able to before. So I highly recommend it. It's a great stone for that. And that's basically it for this video. Thanks for watching. Once again, if you have any questions for another Q&A, or if you have any topics for entire videos to be about or requests, leave that in the comments below, and I would love to get to that for you. And if you want to join my private Facebook group, that's paid membership for all of that content and videos, get in contact with me on Facebook. I'll leave the link in the description box, or through email or Instagram. And also, if you want to get in touch with me for spell work, psychic readings, or any kind of handmade magical items or jewelry, and we can discuss all of that and the prices and everything. Thanks for watching. Hail to the witches, hail Hecate, and blessed be.